Welcome to the inaugural pre-alpha episode 0 of the Royal St. Lawrence Yacht Club with myself, Norman Pearl, and Gary Cleary, members of the Royal St. Lawrence Communications Committee. Today's topic is the podcast itself. So Gary, what's the podcast going to be about?
So basically, the podcast is for the Royal St. Lawrence Yacht Club. Okay, so any subject related to our club would be podcast material.
Okay, and this would be aimed mostly to members or to the public, or more of an internal tool?
Well, at the very beginning, it's for internal consumption, but there's nothing that stops it to become external at one point. If we want to do media, if we want to do promotional activities, if we want to do a series on some information, I don't see why we wouldn't leverage it.
And who's going to host this?
That's a very good question. I think we could have a variety of hosts. We don't have to have one dedicated person, but depending on the subject and the knowledge, probably we should have hosts that are interchangeable as long as they can connect. I don't see why.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess have a host who gets along with the guest and vice versa.
Well, somebody that's very well versed in, let's say, racing. If you're doing regattas, they know what the right questions would be to ask their audience or the guest. So I think that, if you have only I wouldn't want to put a talking head.
Agree. I think we want an interchange, kind of like this.
Yes. So, an intelligent interchange. So the people that listen to it will say, well, yeah, it was informative.
Okay, yeah, and maybe even give the interviewee an idea of what's coming, like what questions are about to be asked. Try not to catch them by surprise.
Absolutely.
Like I just did.
You would prep them on the subject, saying, if you're willing to come to the podcast, we're going to discuss these 5 or 10 topics, whatever they may be. Come prepared, and we're good. For all instances, I don't think we want to, I wouldn't see it as, at this point, heavy duty, meaning that it's like for teaching material, where, you have to give out, like you're doing, Norm, in your courses, you have to give out the material as per this, the content, and make sure that everybody covers each topic. Mm-hmm. Here, it's more an information medium.
Yeah, I agree. I could see something about, okay, what are the plans for tennis this season? What's happening on the docks or the grounds?
Exactly.
What are the challenges? And maybe let the members understand some of the things that the staff deal with.
Agree.
I might even get to vent on my favorite pet peeve about people leaving their shore cords live on the dock.
Well, we could have a whole thing about safety.
Yeah.
And you can go ahead at safety at the Royal St. Lawrence, or environmental concerns at the Royal St. Lawrence, how can we do things better? A discussion with stuff like that. Any topic that concerns us, I think it would be fantastic, and it would add range. The only issue I see is at one point we have to have a balance between English and French. Mm-hmm. So the topic, if a topic is very, very popular, whatever that may be, we would have to have a balance, like saying the person, the interviewer and the interviewee have to be able to address both languages, meaning that they sit down and they will do a part of it in one language and then switch at one point.
Yeah, well, kind of like we do when we have club meetings. There's usually the speeches alternate between both languages, so that's it's a reality here. Okay, sounds
yes,
fair
it
enough.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we're addressing our demographic also at the same time. I think the information could be very, very cool. I'm just thinking, you were talking the other day about a security check on your boat before spring launch.
Recreational vessel courtesy check.
The courtesy check. But, you could go on and say, like, even before the security check, you could say, how do you prep your boat for a launch? And it could be applicable to both if you have a motorcraft or a sailboat, because you do the same thing. You look for holes. You got to make sure that your seacocks are closed and all these things. Little things, like you go
absolutely.
over. And we're getting more and more newbies joining the water activity world. For a few of them, it's their first boat. They've been on boats before, having experience with a friend who owns a boat. But for them to own a boat and to understand, how it works, we have a few. We have a few of those.
Yep.
Anyways.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Have we figured how often would this come out at a regular rate? This is the weekly podcast, the Wednesday afternoon, or as topics come available, I guess?
Norm, I would like that to be regular. Maybe in the future it could be weekly, but for now, I think we could prepare some good material once a month. I would like the links to be into the newsletter when we publish every quarter, so that people can click. So, a lot of them, like you were saying, you're outside shoveling snow or something like that, or you put on your headphones, you click on the link, and you're doing something. And I would like that frequency. Let's not get too ambitious at the beginning, but I mean, if it catches fire, why not?
I agree. Hey, podcast to wax your boat by.
Yeah, well, that's it. How to choose your surveyor.
Okay.
So much material, Norm.
Okay, fair enough. Sounds certainly a lot of potential. Absolutely.
Oh, I would think so. The frequency is a very good question, because I don't know the amount of work that entails right now, to be very open with you, meaning that we have to get people to reserve, an anchor person. Do we have to all this prep? I'm not sure, because some of the guys are doing their podcasts themselves and they're preparing everything. But in our case, maybe. Anyways, I leave it up as a point of discussion.
Okay, well, it's worth considering. I mean, if this recording works, it's first one's done.
We have to send it out to the rest of the team.
Yeah, definitely a beta test, but it's a possibility. Okay, so in that sense, from hardware required, and I guess if I go back to then, I think I had said the format of are we going to do this? So I guess it's generally one-on-one. But if we are doing it remotely, which is probably easier, at least in our current red zone status, it would mean doing it something like this on recording a Zoom session or GoToMeeting or Google Meet, and then doing a little, I guess, post-processing and editing. In terms of software, I'm using Audacity, which is an open source, shareware.
Audacity.
But there's a number of audio editing software that we don't need, I think, very advanced features. But once we edit it down, then we need to put it in the appropriate format, which remains to be seen. And once we've got that format, then upload it to the server. So some of the hardware links I sent you are more if we want to have like in-person recordings, and you maybe want a 2-mic setup. You could sit across the table. And hopefully get some reasonable audio. Right now, because of my mixer arrangement, I'm using a fairly inexpensive headset, so it doesn't have my noise-canceling mic, so you might have a little background of my daughter tap dancing in the next room. Again, production values being what they are.
I don't hear that, Norm, right now.
She's on a pause right now. But yeah, noise-canceling mics. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy. Obviously, if we're doing sound only, which I agree with, the equipment requirements are lighter. We don't have to worry about lighting and cameras and so forth.
I would recommend that we start with an audio podcast. Down the road, if this really, there's a genuine interest by the audience, then we can propose a full audio and video podcast. But that entails that you need a very good camera also somewhere down the line.
Yeah. Well, some of the articles, it seems that a lot of the current telephones have a good enough camera. It's when you hook up the additional microphones and stuff, then they start to lag on battery life. But there are approaches. That might also be something where I would think that some of the communications arts students, whether it's a stage, somebody looking for us, for a project, or perhaps even some of the offspring of our members have some experience running their own podcast or as part of a school thing. So we might be able to pull in some technical expertise on that basis too. It's always so easy to get volunteers, isn't it?
But it's interesting. I think that what we need is, just to go through it a few times and see because it has to be portable and it has to be very easy to use, because I'm not going to be there all the time, and neither will you be, Norm. Setting up the whole environment and just say to the people, okay, put the headset on and start talking now. We're rolling, so we can't be always there. So we have to have a setup that works pretty easily for everybody.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, what I'm using right now is absolutely not portable.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, even if it's based on a laptop. Although it could be done with less. I mean, some of these conferencing, you might have if you have the option as the moderator here to, or the host, to record this session.
No, I don't see it, Norm.
Okay, well, not a problem. This doesn't have to be this tool either, but yeah. So that's a possibility. If we wanted to do it by GoToMeeting, a basic license is like $200 a year, so it's not a deal breaker either.
Let me. I will ask Google Meet after to see if we can record.
And I guess then we need to come up with eventually with our list of, you said prospective interviewers and interviewees. So certainly, I guess
subjects.
A word from the Commodore. I think somebody had mentioned, getting Dave Fleet maybe to talk about the facilities, the upgrades to the docks, breakwater, whatever would be, I think, excellent. I don't know if we get some of the old timers like Dave Gillis or Ryan to talk about, what works in the yard, but it might be interesting to get their view. I mean, I think some of those people are treated as invisible by so many members. It would be good to just to get to know them, even simply a few minutes getting to know the staff. You bring up a very, very good point, because I find that there's no R&R program at the club. Recognition and reward program. So for the employees, we don't have an employee of the month reward or of the week, or maybe it's bi-weekly. The people, you're right, the people work and they're in the shadows. These people, you go and see them and we don't recognize. Anyways, a very good point. So
Norm.
that's another, possibility we can add in. Okay. Anything else? Have we covered it all?
We covered it all, because what I wanted to, I think that we need some software, we need some hardware. For now, maybe we can make it work like this with you. But if this is maybe we can do 1 or 2 tests or 3 tests, just see how it works. And then I don't know, maybe we need to invest a bit in some equipment and some software. I don't know what, but it has to be available for the club members, meaning that if you have a laptop, it's you today, and if it's, I don't know, Louise doing something next week, I can set her up and she can do it on her own. We have to think about that. That might work a little bit, interplay with how Google Meet works. But yes, if we're doing them in person, I mean, in theory, you can record it with 2 people sitting across the table from a phone, but the results are maybe not so great. We'll have to edit out the planes flying over every 5 minutes when that starts happening again. You have to think that at one point we'll be doing this at the club. That would be nice. I hope we'll be sitting down. There, yes, in one of the rooms, and we will have the person on the other side, and you could have one anchor person and 2 or 3 people being interviewed at the same time about a subject. Yep, absolutely. All right. So we try this? We'll try it. I'll clean it up a little bit and try to figure out what to do with posting it privately to start with. Okay. All right. Excellent. I'm looking forward to this, Norm.
Yes. So this has been the inaugural or pre-inaugural, pre-beta
Yes!
alpha test of the Royal St. Lawrence Yacht Club podcast.
There you
Thank
go.
you all for listening, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Yes, we'll be back. Bye for now.